Hey, Jawns. Welcome to another episode of Philly Jones Go Outdoors. And we're here to talk about a special place we call Azores.
Home. Our second home.
Second home.
So we're actually going to break this up into two videos. We got a lot of feedback on Instagram that you guys wanted to kind of hear like the whole journey, how we thought about this, all the preparation, basically everything up until the point of now. So we figured we would make this video to talk about why another country, what our thought process was, how we've prepared for that, like individually, together as a couple, why Azores, and we'll have a cool video for you at the end. It's kind of like a hodgepodge of all of our time spent in Azores.
Yep.
And then our second video will be like concrete, what did we do in terms of getting the ball rolling, how it was looking for a house, finding a house, furnishing a house. So
Yeah. I mean, can we just talk about how we even got to the Azores period?
yeah, well, I mean, this
Like, why did we even think of the Azores, right? So, initially, when we were getting married, a lot of people may have forgot, especially during these times, that there was another famous virus at the time, was Zika, which was mainly affecting women of childbearing ages, causing defects in their newborn children. So, with that being said, and we were just getting married, we were thinking about, okay, we're gonna have a kid soon. Come to find out, we had a kid literally on our honeymoon. But looking back on that, we made a good choice. But so with that in mind, we were thinking of places where Zika was not prevalent. So in our search, we came across these group of islands in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. We looked it up. I looked at my wife and said, what do you think? And we looked more into it, and we thought it was probably the best choice to do for our honeymoon.
yeah.
And it was awesome.
So I actually knew of the Azores already because I grew up in a part of Newark, New Jersey that has a very big Portuguese population. So we had an Azorean teacher in our high school, and I knew of the group of islands. We just never thought of it as like a place to go. So even before all of this, after I bought my house, and I should say, just as an aside, we're in no way trying to give like financial advice to anybody. This is just like a recount of what we did and how it worked for us, and basically our journey up until this point. So I bought my house in 2010. I was single. For my whole life, as long as I've lived on my own, lived well below my means. So whether I was just had some regular job working on the summers in order to pay for my schooling during the year or whatever, or to pay for extra stuff, I've always supported myself. Ken's the same way, and I've always lived below my means. Now, when I started working professionally, I had an occupational therapist actually who gave me some great advice right before I graduated, which was to save, I don't remember what the percentage was. It could have been like 20-25% of my paycheck a week. And because I was never accustomed to making money, that I might as well just do that before you get accustomed to it. So most people, when you get out of school, you want to buy like a new car or something like that. I still drove around a Ford Taurus.
I still make fun of her to this day. Duct tape wrapped
Duct
up,
tape.
mirrors.
For real.
It's like, who is this? You know you have a job. Like, you can get
And I got-
another vehicle.
I
I was like, you can't even buy a mirror. Just buy a mirror.
The mirror, not for nothing, was $500.
Okay,
that was
that's
not
ridiculous.
worth nothing. My duct tape was just fine. So I had lived below my means, and I bought a house around the same time that my mom had bought a house, who's a single mother, and it's her first home, and we kind of did this at the same time. And I remember I bought below most definitely what I was qualified for, because I wanted to be able to make payments easily and not have to like live for a house, right? That actual house is the same house that we live in now. Could we get a house with a, you know, a garage and not a row home in Philly and something that would be like way more posh and comfortable? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, but
at least the bank would make it seem like we can afford something.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
Right. That's
But
like the whole perception of like the bank giving you a loan big enough where you think you can afford something, when you know where we would be money tight if
Yeah.
we did do that.
so we don't want to do that because we want to be able to still make moves in life to put ourselves and mainly our child in a better position. So I had that house. I had read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and one of my friends had like recommended it, and I remember obviously it's mainly about like real estate, paying yourself first, all these things of like the mentality of somebody who has wealth as opposed to someone who doesn't. And especially coming from an inner city, I really felt that book of how we like sensationalize the perception of things, or having new houses, having a new car, things like that, but not really having much in terms of like what your net worth is. So I had thought right then and there, I knew that I wanted to have a house outside of the country. My first thought was the Dominican Republic, and I had like made a binder. I had called people. I actually found a realtor that was from the United States and ended up moving there as a retiree. Anyway, it wasn't the place. First of all, I was like dumb and thought that equity built on a house like quickly, like I would somehow be able to like leverage my house.
Yeah.
That was not a thing. Luckily I had bought my house in the time of the whole like real estate what was that called?
The bubble burst, the 2008.
Yeah. So I was able to use the stimulus, the like Obama stimulus, to buy a house. I used that, but I saw like every year my house kept depreciating. And luckily with the whole me reading that book and wanting to get a house in DR and realizing that I just didn't have enough cash to do that because they don't do like 30-year mortgages there. I had read a book about managing property. This ended up coming out, you know, as a win for me because I ended up moving back to New Jersey, managing my own property now, having tenants in Philadelphia, and knowing that I had to hold on to the property or, you know, I was going to lose out on money. So with all of that, I maintained that property for years, had the house still in Philly. Then Ken and I got together and kind of like talked about, you know, like anybody does, like, what do you want for the future? And I think a big thing for us, we're both very hard workers, but we don't want to work up until we die, or even up until like the year that
I am like looking to 59 and a half, like to the day. Like December 28th cannot come fast enough.
Like we want
to turn 59 and a half.
We want to make sure that like we enjoy our time together, and that we live a life that can support that. So, you know, that was like in the beginning, having these conversations of like, what are we spending money on or not on? I mean, Ken can vouch that I live way below my means when we first got together. I was in like this apartment.
So Steph, when I met Steph, well, not when I met Steph, when we started dating, when she finally accepted the fact that I was the best thing in her life, that's what I call it. She was living in this shoebox of apartment with a dog, a 60-pound dog. It had basically a living room, a kitchenette. If you want to call it a bedroom, you can call it a bedroom, but it was really like another closet, and then a bathroom, a small bathroom. That's literally what it was.
I don't even know how many square feet
It had to be 400. Like it had to be.
I think
it had to be
small.
like, if not smaller.
Yeah.
Like it had to be smaller.
It was so small, but you know, getting back to like living below your means, at that time I'm single. I have a house that has tenants in it. I knew that like their lease was gonna come up and that I could possibly need to find new tenants, and then, you know, there's always like those months gaps in advance to repaint the house, do any fixes that need to be done, where I would be paying a rent and a mortgage. So, you know, trying to be responsible. Cleaning, the painting, all of that stuff. So even though I'm a person that could live in an apartment building with amenities and whatever, I chose just not to, just so that I can be able to still, you know, stack cash as well as be able to support myself, and it just in case. So, you know, those were conversations we had in the beginning when we first got married of like, what do you want to do? And like, Kim was having this box coming with like clothes monthly, and I'm like,
I literally did it for 3 months. So yeah,
well,
she brings it up every time.
Because
every
I
time.
remember being like, what is
Did it
this?
for 3 months, and I was like, this is stupid.
This man has so many clothes. But anyway.
Not recently.
Yeah, no, not recently. But when we first met, I was like, wow, he needs to have a bigger closet than me.
I got rid of a lot of shoes.
For
Donated
real.
a lot of shoes, a lot of clothes I don't have anymore.
Yeah, we are trying to, you know, like, we're not minimalists, but just trying to minimize what we have in our lives, because we want to be able to like build more wealth and have things that are going to appreciate in value over the years. So anyway, we had agreed upon, why wouldn't we want to own a house in another country and have the ability to like retire and go there and, you know, like kind of do whatever we want. We went to Azores for our honeymoon, and I remember literally being like, this is the place. Like,
it's gorgeous. It's green.
It's like untouched. It's beautiful. Yeah. It is so beautiful.
Outdoors.
Yeah, we love the outdoors. And you'll see just from the video later on of like just how beautiful it is. So we knew that was the place, and it took a while before we could even like really, I think, accept the fact that was the move we wanted to make. This is a big kind of move. It's not something that you would tell somebody and they're like, oh yeah, like you got that. Like people would be like,
well, it's you know, if someone came up to you and said, oh, I'm gonna buy a house down Ocean City, Maryland, or New Jersey Shore, or in Florida, or in Cali, people can understand that. Like, people can feel like they can grasp that. And also what helps with that, there's also like pathways to do it, you know? And it's very easy to, you know, speak to a bank and say, hey, what are my opportunities about getting a mortgage here? And that so on and so on. So when you start talking, you know, like, hey, this country I would love to have a house in, and there's no pathway to do it, you basically have to create your own to do so. It's a lot of intimidating for a lot of people. So
yeah, I think it definitely is. We had a lot of, well, I didn't share with a lot of people, and I think that was probably one of the reasons why we didn't kind of document it. It's one of those things where, you know, when something's really big and it's a huge goal of yours, you don't know if it's really going to happen.
Right.
There were so many obstacles to get to that point where I swear, like, even the week of signing, we were still not sure if it was going to happen or not. And so with so much kind of on the line and such a huge, like, goal of ours, we really didn't, like, announce it. I mean, we had told some people that are close to us here and there, but we didn't, like, really announce it until all was said and done. And we were going there to furnish it and, you know, like, that whole thing. Just because, you know, there was a lot riding on the line. And not only that, even just getting, not getting very encouraged from some people that we spoke to over there, property managers or, you know, things like that. When we know, we know what, you know, how much we spend, what our budget is, what we can afford. And so it was, but we're not, you know, we're not coming from like goo gobs of money, but we knew that we wanted to buy a house where if for whatever reason, and thank goodness, because we're in a pandemic and we haven't really been able to rent it this whole time. We wanted to make sure that we got a house where if we had never rented it and if it was only for us, we would still be able to afford it and be okay.
Yeah, and we also consider this one as like a part of our retirement plan, because we do want to retire there at least a part of the year, 3 months, 6 months, a part of the year when we do retire. So for us, this is a part of our retirement plan, or investment, as you should say. So just as much as we put in a certain amount every, you know, pay period to retirement, we also do this as part of, like, okay, this is also our retirement. And then we'll also have equity in the property, just in a different country.
Yeah. And not only that, being able to rent it out and then
and then make some income from,
or at least
potential of renting it out.
Or at least it being able to take care of itself. I mean, that in and of itself would be great for us, and to have people be able to experience how beautiful the island is. One of the main grabs when we were kind of like when we were there and I was asking people in my like broken Portuguese and Spanish was
or no Portuguese,
yeah,
no Spanish.
yeah.
Ken.
Oh yeah. Was just like, how is it out here? Who's buying out here? And we found out that like a lot of people from like Germans and British
Germany
people
and Canada were like the top two responses of
Yeah.
like people purchasing or vacationing there most often.
Yeah, a lot of people would take their holiday obviously from Europe because it was only like a 4-hour flight for them, and not a lot of Americans knew about this little cluster of islands, and that actually made it more appealing for us because it seemed a little bit more untouched, and it's really beautiful. So we're gonna be showing you guys a video, seeing why we fell in love with this island, and we hope that you love it too. Our next video is gonna be like concrete. What did we do?
Yeah, what did we do? Who we spoke to initially, you know, especially those property managers that told us that we could not do it.
We're not gonna name them.
We're not gonna name them, but I'll never forget them. I keep names, all right?
Yeah.
But more importantly, we wanted to show you why we fell in love with it, even in the 14 days that we were there, and said this is the place that's got to be it. So here's the video.